In this video, I will show you how to color one of my coloring pages, Monocle Cafe in London. I will put the link to the pages in the description box, and if you purchase them, it will mean the world to me, and thank you for your support. Here are the materials I will be using in this video. I am using round brush size 11, but use any brush you have or you feel comfortable using. I start with the red ochre watercolor, but a light layer, that means more water than the color on the palette, and then I will color the upper wall, and also I will add some brush strokes outside the lines for a bit looser look. And while the paint is still wet, I drop in some bit of raw sienna in some places, so the wall looks more interesting. Next, with olive green, I will color in the plants, and at this point I decided my light source is on the right side, so while the paint is still wet, I add sap green to the left side of the plants, and the colors will blend nicely together, and the left side will be a bit darker because it will be on the shade. I mixed dunes with raw sienna. Dunes is like titanium buff color, so it will be this warm beige color mix, and I will color the cafe's walls. Don't worry if you color over the chair legs, because we will color them darker later, and this color won't show through. When we get to the column on the right side, I also will color some brush strokes outside of the lines for a looser look, and I will add a bit of raw sienna where the chalkboard is, because I want it to look like the chalkboard's color is also blending in with the background. I will color in the window frames with the same color mix, and later the awning stripes, but I will leave the first one empty, that will be darker. So first one empty, then I will color, then empty, then color. For the left side column, I am using sepia. The real-life building has a black color there, but I want this drawing to feel warmer, so I chose sepia. You can use black if you want. And I am doing the same as I did with the right side column. Some brush strokes outside the lines also. And then with sepia I will color in the lines that we left empty before. And with sepia I will color in this little part of the roof. The inside of the window I will color with the same dunes and raw sienna mix, but this time I added a bit more raw sienna, and then you can also add raw sienna directly on the paper. Make this inside wall look warm and welcoming. And with the yellow color I will color the light coming from the lamps in the triangle shape, so wider at the bottom. For the door window I start by adding yellow in the middle and then raw sienna around the edges, and at the end I will add a bit of burnt sienna, like a small amount really, around the edges to darken them a bit. And if your colors don't blend together by themselves, then just with clean wet brush make them blend together. Now with raw sienna I will color in the wooden parts, like that table, not the table, I don't know how you call it, but it's in the inside. Then I will also color the table that is outside and the chalkboard frame. At the moment you can see me using my smaller brush, which is flat brush size 2, so switch between the brushes when you want. If it's a smaller place, use smaller brush, it will be easier to color. For the pavement I am using warm grey, and I like randomly color, leave some white spots, and I will also drop in some raw sienna to make the pavement look more interesting. And with sepia I will color in the chalkboard and also the flower pots on the left side of the drawing. For the upper windows, I am using a really light layer of warm grey, and I also add a bit of raw sienna, and then with clean wet brush I blend the colors together. When the first layer of upper wall is dried completely, then we can start adding detail. So this middle part around the windows, I will just color with red ochre. By adding the second layer of color, it will look more saturated and opaque. When the middle part is done, then on both sides I will draw bricks. It is very easy if you have a flat brush, just one brush stroke and there is a brick. And while the bricks are still wet, I like to blend them out a bit with clean wet brush. But if you like a neater look, then skip this part. I forgot to color this part of the roof, so again using sepia and coloring in the little roof. Now I will start to make the column look more dimensional. I am using Dunes and Raw Sienna mix, and if you want darker look, then add more Raw Sienna to the mix. So remember where your light source is. Mine is on the right, so I want the left side to be darker and right side lighter. And then I just color in the parts that I feel would be darker or in the shadow. And if you don't like the look of dark edges, then blend the color with clean wet brush. Using the same mix, I will also add dimension to the cafe's walls. So add more color to the parts that would be in shadow, and the parts that would be lighter leave uncolored. So the first light layer will show through and it will start to look more 3D than just a flat color. While the paint is still wet, I add some warm grey at the bottom, so it blends nicely together with the pavement. And then I'm adding warm grey to this little step and also to the pavement, but not coloring it all, just some lines and dots here and there to also make the pavement look more dimensional and interesting. and around the plants I will add some olive green dots so it looks like fallen leaves from those bushes. Now with sepia I will add the second layer to the flower pots, so I will also darken the one side that would not be in the sunlight, so the right side of the pot will be lighter because my sun is on the right side. And after the pots I will add dimension to the column on the left side, so the darker column. Pretty much I will do the exact same thing as I did for the lighter column. I will darken some places that would be darker or in the shadow. So yeah, add more color to parts that you feel would be darker. I forgot about this big part of the building. So yeah, with the dunes and raw sienna mix, I darken the part that would be in shadow, which is right next to the lighter column, and then just blend out the color with clean wet brush. And I will drop in more color in lines that I would also like to be darker. So I want this part that is monocle, I want it to stand out, so I will leave it lighter. And then I will color the awning with the raw sienna and dunes mix. I add some strokes, dots and lines here and there to the lighter stripes, and with sepia to the darker stripes. For the chalkboard, I want to darken that little part that is like behind. So I will color everything with sepia in there, and then I will add some strokes, vertical and horizontal, alongside the chalkboard frame on the front side. And then the front side of the frame I will darken with one more layer of raw sienna, and the other part I will darken with burnt sienna, and it will instantly look more three-dimensional. Here I am adding some details on the doors, like this mailbox I will color in with yellow, the door handle I will color in with sepia, also add some color to those little signs in the window with yellow, green and also red. For the greenery, I am now using just sap green, and I dab the color on the left side of the plants. so they also look more dimensional. The right side will be more in sun, so it will be lighter. Now for the inside window, I will add one more layer of dunes and raw sienna mix to the wall, and then I will drop in some burnt sienna around the edges to make it feel more like a window, I don't know, reflection. And then we can start on the details. So with sepia, I will color the chalkboard, like the menu sign, and the inside of the coffee machine. Then with raw sienna, I will color the frames. I will also add color inside of the frames with yellow and green, also those little signs in the window. I will add red ochre and green, and color in the coffee machine with red ochre, and add some color to everything. I am adding warm grey to these thingies in coffee machine and to the sugar thing, and then I add one more layer of raw sienna to the wooden parts, like that big table inside, and to that horizontal wooden part I am adding burnt sienna. On the chairs where you can sit, I am coloring yellow, and then the chair legs and the table legs I am coloring with burnt sienna. And we also need the table to look more dimensional, so I am coloring with raw sienna and blending out the right side with butter to make it look lighter, and then dropping in a bit of burnt sienna just to add more interest. I forgot to color in the lamps. I chose the red ochre for the lamps. I am adding one more layer of warm grey and raw sienna to the upper windows, but leave some spaces from the previous layer showing through. When the bricks have completely dried, then I go over with red ochre on some of them. Randomly choose which bricks you want to darken, It will make the bricks look more interesting, and then I also add some little dots here and there. To make that middle part around the window more interesting, with red ochre I also add some lines, add some dots, like add a bit more color here and there. For the columns to look even more dimensional, I am adding one more layer of sepia to the darker column, but in even less parts than before, so all the previous layers are also seen. And then add dots, add lines, whatever you want to make it look super pretty. But also keep in mind where your light source is and where the shadows would be. And the same with the flower pots. I want to darken this meshy part, like where the grid is. I want to darken that, and also add some little dots, lines, like darken few parts of the pot. And the same with sap green. I will also add some leaves, more leaves on the bushes, but even less than before. So all the previous layers are also shown. And to the lighter column, I am doing basically the same as I did with the darker column, just with raw sienna and dunes mix, but this time I added even more raw sienna to the color mix, so it looks darker. So the column itself is casting a shadow onto the building. So I am drawing that, and then I will also draw shadow lines horizontally. You will see I will add little bit of line, but I will color it in full length, but you won't see in this video. And then I will add some little dots here and there, like you see now. And outside of the camera, I colored in the Monocle name with sepia. And with the same raw sienna dunes mix, I am now adding shadows to the cafe wall. So the column is casting a shadow to the left side because the sun is on the right. If your sun is on the left, then the shadows would be to the right side. Also, on the doors, I add shadows that the frames are making. Also adding little dots and lines because I really like how they liven up the drawing. So yeah, add shadows, add some dots, lines. This part of the awning in reality is white, but I decided I want to color it with raw sienna. So all the drawing colors are tying up together. And one more layer of sepia to the awning's darker stripes. But this really is up to you. If you are happy with how the awning looked, don't color it over one more time. And then I will darken and give dimension to everything inside the window. Like I darkened the chalkboard, the inside of the coffee machine. I will add some color to the lamps, to the coffee machine itself. I will add some shadows from the frames, also some dots and lines on the wall. So it's not so neat. But if you like the neat look, then don't add those little dots. For that big wooden thing inside, I drew vertical lines where the planks are with raw sienna. Also some lines and dots here and there. And then I darkened the horizontal part with burnt sienna and also added some vertical lines on the planks with burnt sienna. And to finish the inside, I add yellow coming from the lamps again and blending with clean wet brush the color at the bottom so it's more saturated where the lamp is and then lighter at the bottom. Now for the shadows on the upper wall, I am using burnt sienna. So I added shadow that the middle part is making, and also this little electricity box is casting a shadow. So yeah, remember where your light source is and draw shadows according to that. For the window frame shadows, I am using dunes mixed with little bit of sepia. And then with warm grey, I will add some shadows inside the windows, but to make them a bit more interesting, I don't want just any shadows. I want it to be like a tree reflection shadow. So add some scribble, make it look like a tree, and yeah, there will be your shadow in the window. Now on the pavement we also need to add some shadow. I am using warm grey and I will add shadow that's coming from the chalkboard, and it will also cast a bit of shadow to the door. And then for the tables and chairs, that is like my least favorite part because I don't know what to do here. So I am just drawing shadow coming from the legs, and then I added some random lines on the wall because I know that there will be shadow from them, but I don't know exactly where. So yeah, random lines here and there. Now the shadow from awning. I am using burnt sienna for the window parts, then I wanted dunes and sepia mix on the lighter parts, but my horizontal shadow looked so wonky that I decided to fix it with just coloring over the big horizontal shadow from the awning with burnt sienna. And then at the end I added splatter all over the drawing with red, green and yellow color. So you just add a lot of watery color to the brush and then just flick it and you will get random splatters. And then the last thing is with white gouache. I added writings on the chalkboard and some sparkle here and there where the sun would shine on the objects. I didn't film that part, but in on Sulat tutorial you can see how I do the gouache part, and if you don't have gouache then use jelly roll pen, it will also work. So that's it, the drawing is finished and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial.